Hello, 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 and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the gov't no government license, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is bipcot.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to, inciting, or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical.
It's all in Minecraft, man.
It's all in Minecraft. This is episode 149. Yeah. Woohoo, 149.
Holy crap. We're about to are we gonna do something special for 150 like we did for 100? Like just every 50 episodes do a no?
No. No, we tried to record you belly dancing and it didn't work, and it tested terrible.
I am very white, so I have no rhythm.
So yeah. You're very white, but you're not like putting raisins in potato salad white.
I hate those kinds of white people. Like, no, what do you do? Why would that even occur to you? Like, what? You're looking at this and you're like, oh, we got some starch in here, we got some of the egg and stuff, we're gonna toss that in. Oh, and by the way, we're also gonna toss in raisins. Why?
What's wrong with people?
Yeah, like I would consider throwing the table, like just flipping the table if I find that at like a cookout. No, that's not allowed. What the hell's wrong?
We were joking with Derek. And Derek is doing a Labor Day barbecue. So she's doing this. She put the list on Facebook. It's like, oh, did I miss anything? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh yeah, you forgot to take coleslaw off the list. So we got into a conversation about coleslaw. And then about potato salad, and of course, Derek could be a white. The memes came out, about white people and potato salad. there's one of a Karen. The last summer, remember the lady in the blue hoodie, the blue zip-up hoodie on the phone calling, yeah. So that was the barbecue Karen here in Oakland. Yeah. Right. So it was her, and she's like, these people are having a barbecue. They're putting raisins in their potato salad. Send help.
Yeah. Send in the SWAT team at that point. I don't even care.
I'm at that point where if you put raisins in your potato salad, you deserve to get nuked by the Taliban. That's the fact.
Yeah, that's the
fact. It's a Darwinism at this point.
Well, there was one a little while ago. There was a meme going around, somebody talking about like they had some recipe for like using cauliflower instead of pulled pork for barbecue or something. And I was like, so help me, if I come to your barbecue and you serve me what I think is a barbecued pork sandwich and it turns out to be cauliflower, I am burning your house to the ground.
Dude, my cousin puts fucking pineapple bits in the candied yams at Thanksgiving.
You do that?
And so instead of putting brown sugar in the candied yams, she puts a can of pineapple bits.
What could the purpose of that possibly be?
Because it's a sweetener. It's not as bad.
Oh my god. No. When you're at Thanksgiving, like the point is that you don't care that you are a glutton, and like that is the point of Thanksgiving, is to just gorge yourself. And why would you? No, that's a terrible idea. That would be like a fucking vegan Thanksgiving. Like, no,
it's criminal. It absolutely should be fucking criminal.
Yeah, like y'all gonna, all I can think of is that meme that, oh fuck, you're gonna make me commit a war crime.
It's like Miracle Whip and coleslaw.
Why?
I mean, it's like, I don't like coleslaw to begin with, but like if you're gonna make coleslaw, worse, Miracle Whip is the way to go.
That's a pretty good way to make people go, wow, this is even more terrible. I mean, I'll eat coleslaw like if I'm eating like a Memphis style sandwich, right, where they throw coleslaw on top of it in the sandwich and it's with other things, I'll eat it then. But if you hand me one of those stupid little plastic containers of coleslaw with my meal, it's you might as well just take that and throw that in the trash. I'm not going to eat it.
No, I agree completely. Coleslaw is a war crime.
It's just terrible. Like who? Gosh, you know what would make this cabbage even better if I just coated in mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise, mayonnaise, and sugar, and apple cider vinegar.
Like what?
It's literally albino mustard at that point.
Yeah, that's a terrible. Why would you do it? Whatever, man. I don't know. I can't really. I mean, Wisconsin we eat cheese curds, and everyone looks at us funny until they eat cheese curds, and then they're like, "Oh my god, where have these been all my life?" So, because they're amazing.
Cheese curds are no poutine, but I mean they're up there.
They're pretty freaking fantastic. We do poutine here too, though, because we're so close to Canada anyway. Like, a lot of that stuff bleeds over. So, like, we do that too. We have the brats. Like, we have some of the best German food outside of Germany you're ever going to get because all the Germans settled here, in case you couldn't tell from all of our beer companies. But, like, it's...
We're about to start having a whole bunch of Afghani food, too.
Yeah, well, yeah, because 45, anyone who doesn't know, about 45 minutes northeast of me is Fort McCoy, which is a huge military base, and that base is the one where all of the Afghani refugees are being brought.
Not all, but like a lot of them, yeah. Like, what was it, like 7,500 or something like that, I think is what I read.
Yeah, it's a huge number, and most of them, don't speak English, so trying to communicate with them is turning into a nightmare, and they're running into issues where they are not technically like legally able to keep them there, so they can like just wander away whenever they want.
Yeah, that's where our other co-host Christopher's at right now. He was doing some volunteer work, making food and stuff for them.
Yep, and that's they're
putting his money where his mouth is.
Yep, and the OIM is there, has come up here. They've redeployed a bunch of people. OIM is the Office of Integration Management. They're the ones for the UN who manage like refugees and stuff and try and do that. They're up here, and I know that for sure because I had one come into my work. Unfortunately, he was recalling MoneyGram like wire transfers to Afghanistan to his family to help them get out. And the banks are all closed and everyone's suspended services there, so they couldn't get the money. And so like now this guy's gonna be helping all these other people set up in the US, and he couldn't even get his own family out. Like that's what Afghanistan looks like right now. It's just
yeah, touchy subject. I didn't really want to bring it up, but it kind of got broached, so.
Yep. Yeah.
I know you're on the field. I know you're on the fields with that one.
Yeah. Well, and we're gonna have, it's gonna be interesting. Wisconsin has right now, for some reason, like Wisconsin and Minnesota, a lot of refugees come here. I don't know why you would take people from hot areas and bring them to Wisconsin.
It depends on where they're at in Afghanistan, because the larger mountainous regions, the climate in those mountainous regions is similar to what you have there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little similar. We're definitely way more humid, and we're gonna get colder than they are, still and stuff. But yeah, but it's like we have tons of Somalis. There's a ton of Somalis here, tons of Cubans, and
sorry, what?
Yeah, there's tons of Cubans got brought here. No idea why. That's of all the places that I would, if I was a Cuban, I wouldn't want to go. Probably somewhere where it gets to like 50 below zero. I just
50 below zero with 75% humidity.
Oh, it's when it gets that cold, it's even worse because there is no humidity. So you wind up with 50 below zero and the wind blowing, which gives you a wind chill of like 70 below sometimes.
Yeah. Why do I live where the air is hurting my face?
Oh yeah, it's when it gets that cold too, like the air is sparkly because all of the moisture in the air is actually freezing. So it's really crazy. But yeah, like why would you send somebody from Cuba to they're like, that's torture, man. Like those poor people trying to figure out how to adapt to this climate. But we got them, and now we have the Afghanis coming. So there's just tons and tons of immigrants in Wisconsin. I always laugh when people talk about how white Wisconsin is. I'm like, you obviously have not been here. It is tons.
Madison is white.
Yeah, Madison can be pretty white. You have tons of refugees from Chicago that come here too. So, and inner city Chicago and things. So there's because of we're the cranberry capital of the world. Like basically any cranberry, pretty much any cranberry that you have ever eaten has in fact come from Wisconsin. So there's just huge cranberry bogs up north of me, and all of the migrant workers come to work for Ocean Spray and stuff up there. So we have tons of Mexicans and Nicaraguans and Guatemalans and just tons of people from Central and South America here too. Like is actually really diverse until you hit like Milwaukee and Madison. Like the cities are not diverse, but everywhere else is. So go figure with that one. But
that's how it is here too in Cali. It's like everywhere is diverse until you get like north of Sacramento. Once you get north of Sacramento, it's like there's the Mexican farmers, the Mexican migrant farmers, and then there is the Punjabi Indian farm owners, right? They own a lot of orchards. Fantastic people, by the way. And then the majority's white.
That's just so weird. It happens though. That's the United States, right? The United States is supposed to be a big melting pot where everybody comes together, and you have all these different races and religions and ethnic backgrounds and just all coming together in one place and figuring out how to live together. So, and I mean, it kind of works. There's most people who come to Wisconsin complain that they think everybody is suspect because we can't actually be that nice for a legitimate reason. But it's real. Midwest nice is very, very real. Like it's super weird, but it's true. Like you will suspect that there is something wrong with us because we are so nice.
Stereotypes got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I mean we do also have a ton of serial killers from Wisconsin, but yeah, kind of going the other extreme there.
Cheese and beer and cranberries. I mean, I don't know. I don't know why that makes serial killers, but okay.
Well, I mean, they tend to come from. I mean, the one was from Plainfield, that was Ed Gein. The other one was from Milwaukee, and that was Jeffrey Dahmer. So, and they both ate people. So, apparently.
Okay. I have nothing to say to that one. I'm at a loss.
The Ojibwe are the ones who have the legend of the Wendigo, and they're in Wisconsin. So, I mean, maybe there's a reason that they're the ones who came up with the Wendigo tag.
Let's see. You want to get into this? Where do we want to start?
I have no idea.
We're in Wisconsin. Let's start in Wisconsin.
Okay.
Or not Wisconsin, Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Next state over.
Yeah. People don't much use the tree scent. Yeah. We have
two Minneapolis stories or two Minnesota stories tonight.
Yeah, and the Twin Cities are only a couple hours north of me. Like when all that was going on, like there was tons of people from here going up there. So
let's talk about that one. Jaleel Stallings shot at MPD, that is the Minneapolis Police Department. A jury acquitted him of wrongdoing.
Hell yeah.
Well, it was clear self-defense, absolute clear self-defense, but we'll get to that. This is an article by the Minnesota Reformer. Before the white unmarked cargo van of the Minneapolis Police Department drove down Lake Street, an officer gave Sergeant Andrew Biddle his orders. Quote, drive down Lake Street. You see a group, call it out. Okay, great. Fuck them up. Gas them. Fuck them up. That's a quote. Biddle turned the SWAT unit in the van and said, quote, "All right, we're rolling down Lake Street. The first fuckers we see, we're just going to hammer them with the 40s, according to body camera footage described in court documents. He referred to, quote, less lethal plastic projectiles, sometimes called rubber bullets, or 40-millimeter launcher or rounds.
Yeah, they're like a rubber ring that comes out of a 40 mil.
There's two different kinds for that one. There's the rings that come out of the 40 mil, and then there's the ones that look like Nerf footballs.
Yep.
The Nerf footballs will fuck you up and ruin your day.
Yes.
They're a dense rubber.
Yep. The rubber rings are designed to basically just hit you, sting, and bounce off. That's what they're supposed to do. And they're really cool design, actually. The way they fly through the air is kind of nifty, but they're still going to hurt a lot. And they're talking about shooting people who are just standing there doing nothing. Like just the first group we see, we're going to shoot them. That's a complete psychopath move.
Yep. It was nighttime, just 5 days after the murder of George Floyd by Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Protests and riots had raged for days and laid waste to businesses along Lake Street and the 3rd Precinct Police Station. By May 30, protests had ebbed, but the curfew was in effect. At 17th Avenue and Lake Street, around 10 p.m., the SWAT team saw a group of people outside the Stop and Shop gas station. Biddle told the driver, "Let's head towards the station," and said, quote, "Let them have it, boys." Quote, "Right there, get him, get him, get him, get him, hit him, hit him," he ordered as the officers fired plastic bullet launchers without warning. They later learned they were shooting at the gas station owner, the neighbors, and relatives guarding the station from more looting, as well as bystanders, including Vice News reporter who had his hands up and was yelling, quote, "Press." A SWAT team.
That would be a war crime in a war zone. Just FYI.
Several war crimes.
Yes. Yeah. But like that would get you.
Not being shot at, not enemy combatants, and the press.
Yeah. Like you'd be going to fucking Leavenworth if you were a soldier in a combat zone and you pulled this. Even with less than lethal rounds, they would still call that a war crime.
Yes. A SWAT team member pushed the reporter to the ground. As he lay there with his press card up, another officer sprayed him in the face. That would be with mace or crowd control spray. About an hour later, 3 blocks to the west, they opened the sliding door of the van and began firing plastic rounds at people in a parking lot. They hit Jaleel K. Stallings, 29, a St. Paul truck driver, who says he didn't know they were cops because they were inside an unmarked white cargo van with the police lights off. He thought they were real bullets, and he says he was mindful of warnings earlier in the day from no less than Governor Tim Walz that white supremacists were rolling the city looking for trouble.
I mean, that was clearly accurate. There were a bunch of white supremacists in a white van wearing SWAT gear shooting at random people.
Yes. Stallings, an Army veteran, returned fire with his mini Draco pistol, for which he had a permit.
A fucking Draco. I love that detail.
That's kind of based. That's kind of
it's fucking Draco.
He aimed low toward the front of the van and didn't hit anyone. When the SWAT team jumped out of the van yelling, "Shots fired!" Stallings realized they were police, so he dropped his weapon and lay face down on the pavement, according to court documents. His eye socket was fractured in the beating that followed, with officers later claiming he resisted arrest. A Hennepin County jury recently acquitted Stallings of all charges after he was allowed by a judge to claim self-defense. That is the dude. He got a little kind of fucked up. You can see the bruising on his orbital and his face, and that shit-eating grin, knowing he did nothing wrong.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna get off because you motherfuckers just. I mean, this is the kind of thing. So what these SWAT guys are engaging in is the kind of thing that, like, remember years ago there were videos that were coming out constantly of like teenagers doing this with paintball guns, just running up on people and shooting them, and they were getting felony charges for this.
Yep.
This is the exact same thing that they were doing, except even more likely to actually permanently injure someone and possibly kill them, and they're getting away with it because they're cops.
Yes. Court documents and transcripts reveal a far different story than the one officers told investigators. as well as the tales police and prosecutors offered up to the media. The documents and other court records also reveal what until now remained largely obscure: how the Minneapolis police departments reacting to the protests, civil unrest, looting, and rioting in the days after the Floyd murder. The answer: fiercely and at times indiscriminately.
I'm shocked. Shocked, I say. What?
I mean, their first shots were fired at people standing outside a gas station. Their second shots were fired at people standing in a parking lot. Not looters, not rioters, not instigators. People standing in a gas station and people standing in a parking lot.
Again, this is right. This is the difference between military ROE and police ROE, where the military, if we did that at all, that's another war crime. That's, you had no idea who those people were. They're not posing a threat to you. Nothing else. You're just unleashing hell on civilians because, this is so cool.
The collateral murder video.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that sort of thing. But again, police in the United States are allowed to victimize anyone, anytime, with zero repercussions, which was the whole point of the riots in the first place, was that they were doing this shit right here.
The police are abusive. Let's go protest the police, who respond by being abusive.
Yeah, by being abusive again. What?
This is the most fucked up Venn diagram ever.
Yeah, Jesus.
It's not even a Venn diagram. It's just one of those infinity marks.
Yeah, it's a fucking Mobius strip of reasoning here. Like, oh, well, the people are being mean to us because we're brutalizing them. So to prove that we're not mean, we're going to brutalize them because they're mad because we're brutalizing them.
The beatings will continue until compliance.
Yeah, exactly. And that's I mean, that right there, like, encapsulates the average cop's attitude to American citizens, right? Like that encapsulates it, where it's this idea that all of you are adversaries, all of you are bad. I have a right to do anything I want to all of you because you're bad. Yep. So I'm just going to do whatever I want.
And they'll hide behind the I'm just doing my job.
I'm just doing my job.
If you don't like the law, vote to change it.
Yeah. Yeah, which and that's one of those ones that always has irritated the piss out of me when cops are like, well, I don't make the laws, I just have to enforce them. Except the entire idea of checks and balances was supposed to be that you wouldn't enforce, cops had the option to not enforce laws that they didn't agree with, which would render them irrelevant. And that was supposed to be a balance to the power of Congress and the courts. Like, that was supposed to be what was going on. And instead, now you just will comply with anything. You've undone that one tiny little safeguard that lasted all of like 10 seconds.
Yep.
In the Constitution.
In the pretrial order, Hennepin County District Judge William Koch, who did not preside over the trial, was critical, if judiciously so, of the MPD leadership. Quote, while the court recognizes that there can be appropriate bravado to support colleagues going into battle or to address concerns about personal safety, it is not too much to expect those in leadership position to know the proper way to motivate and support their officers without inciting them to inappropriate behavior towards the public they serve. How a superior expresses himself can help cool heads or heat them up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, my guys, if we'd been going into a situation and I was like, we're going to fuck them up, we're going to light them up, they are getting ready and psyched up to just fucking go in there, guns firing, no questions asked. Leadership, your purpose as a leader, especially in a combat unit, and let's be honest, that's what a SWAT team is, right? They are a combat unit. If you are leadership, you are responsible for directing the attention and actions of every man in your command. This is what you do, and you're responsible for it as a result. So, I mean, personally, I think this dude should be but the fucking leader of it should be in prison right now.
Oh yeah. Okay, you ready for this? You ready for this? This is the police version of what happened.
Oh.
The police version of what happened. SWAT officers were patrolling Lake Street in an unmarked white van to, quote, control the crowds that were causing severe property damage when they came upon a group near 14th Avenue. While people dispersed, Stallings stepped out from behind a pickup, walked towards the officers, and crouched by the driver's side door as if to pick up something. The officers, concerned that they were planning to throw debris or rocks at them, fired a 40-millimeter marking round at Stallings, who fired, quote, 3 to 4 shots in the direction of the officers, narrowly missing them, according to the criminal complaint. The complaint said officers deployed one 40-millimeter round at Stallings, even though the officers fired 2 rounds before Stallings returned fire. That we'll get to the actual body cam footage in a second. Stallings, quote, quickly ran away and was handcuffed after a struggle, according to the press release, by the Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman, who said Stallings was charged for, quote, shooting at police officers amid riots and protests and firing multiple shots at SWAT officers during riots.
I'm gonna eye roll so hard my eyeballs come out of my head. Like, you fucking liars.
Get the tape, hold them in place. You're gonna want. Quote, none of the officers nor Stallings were injured, the press release said, even though Stallings' bruised, scraped face on his mugshot clearly indicated otherwise, and he was taken to the hospital after his arrest.
You beat the fuck out of him, put him in the hospital. No one was injured. Fuck you. Oh.
The criminal complaint said that during police questioning, Stallings asked if anyone had been killed, and after being told no, he quote said he wanted to speak with a lawyer, and the statement was ended. But Stallings' lawyer said a recording of the interview shows Stallings twice asked whether the officers were okay, not whether he had killed anyone, saying that the main concern was making sure everybody was okay. When an officer said no one had been seriously hurt, the officer noted Stallings appeared relieved. Quote, during the interview, the officers even expressed appreciation for Stallings' concern for the well-being of the officers involved, Stallings' lawyer wrote in a legal memo.
Oh, they appreciate it so much they tried to fuck him hard, asshole.
They broke his face.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of him. Like, oh, we appreciate that you care about us. Like,
he was charged with 2 counts of attempted second-degree intentional non-premeditated murder, 2 counts of first-degree assault, deadly force against police officers, 2 counts of second-degree assault, use of a dangerous weapon, 1 count of second-degree rioting, and 1 count of intentional discharge of a firearm.
Rioting. Rioting. He was standing in a parking lot. Drove up, shot at him. He returned fire, and you're charging him with fucking rioting and attempted murder. Jesus fucking Christ.
The case made headlines with outlets such as the Washington Post reporting on criminal charges that said the SWAT team was wearing uniforms, SWAT vests, and helmets, though not mentioning they were in an unmarked van in the dark with the lights off. The case made headlines again a few days later when the Minnesota Freedom Fund paid $75,000 to get cash, or $75,000 cash to get Stallings, who had no criminal record, out of jail. The case even became fodder for presidential campaign fundraising, with then President Donald Trump's war room tweeting that, quote, Jaleel Stallings is a would-be cop killer who was in jail for firing at police during peaceful protests. Now he's free thanks in part to Biden's campaign officials who donated to pay bail fees. Because Biden's campaign donated to the Freedom Fund.
Isn't that interesting that he was so clearly running on a platform of the defund police and the anti-police ticket, and now laughs that, well, that's just a crazy fringe opinion of the Democrat Party. No one ever said that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Okay. So the body cam tells another story. Court hearings and court documents describing body cam footage tell a different story. That night, the SWAT team's white unmarked cargo van slowly rolled down East Lake Street with 20 to 30 police officers, or 20 to 30 police cars trailing farther behind.
Jesus, that's a lot of force.
The van had red and blue lights on the sides, under the mirrors, and in front and the rear windows. but they were turned off. They wore blue Minneapolis Police Department uniforms under black tactical vest. Right, so this is at night. Their lights are off. They're wearing dark blue and black.
Yeah, it's
and firing indiscriminately out the side of an unmarked white van.
If somebody's wearing anything other than just completely white and sitting in a darkened van at night, you can't see who the fuck they are.
Nope. Street police officers use 40mm launchers with orange barrels so they're not mistaken for lethal weapons. But the SWAT team had black barrel launchers, making them harder to distinguish from deadly weapons.
Yeah, their barrels are black because they are allowed in certain situations to use actual potentially lethal rounds. Things like tear gas launcher rounds can actually kill you if they hit you, and so because they
did in I think Louisville they hit someone in the head with one and killed them.
Yeah, I mean, because that thing's traveling fast enough and it's solid metal. I mean, the can is solid metal because the way that the tear gas gets dispersed, it needs to be metal. That is it's a projectile. It's a possibly lethal projectile. They also, I don't know if Minneapolis SWAT ever has been issued explosive rounds, but there is literally no reason that 40mm launcher could not be loaded with an actual HE round. Oh, yeah. Or my personal favorite to use, which was always the Hellhound. Knock knock bitches, boom. So that's like that. They can totally do that, which is why they're black. They don't get the orange ones because they do launch lethal projectiles sometimes.
Yeah, at night without the lights on, it looked like a cargo van creeping down Lake Street with a bunch of cop cars inexplicably trailing behind. In court, one of the SWAT team members likened it to the tip of a spear. They had the special weapons and tactics, while the cops in the marked cars behind them, quote, barely had riot gear. The other units had been told to slow down and stay behind the van. Earlier, Biddle had ordered the squad lights turned off. So this the commander. The commander told them to turn the lights off.
So he's intentionally appearing as though he's a regular van. Like he's making this conscious decision to appear as though this is a regular van full of regular people.
Yes. Not long after they headed out, an officer told Biddle people were headed in the direction of the SWAT unit. Quote, let them come, Biddle told his unit. A couple minutes later, he yelled, hit him, hit him, hit him. And the officers fired several rounds at the group, then told them, quote, get the fuck out of here, according to the description on the body cam videos and the court documents. Then they saw the group of protesters violating curfew, but not looting or rioting. They cleared the people out and were watching a small group shout at them from a distance. They fired some launchers at them, and after the people retreated, Officer Justin Stetson fired another round. The group retreated and stopped yelling. Stetson fired a third time, saying, gotcha. Officer Christopher Dobble laughed and gave him a fist bump.
This is the kind of behavior that we engaged in combat.
Yes.
Like this is combat soldier behavior where you're actually engaged with an actual op-4, and you're firing at them, and then you pop off a 40mm and nail somebody, and then you're like, got him. Like that's this behavior. Like this is cops firing at people that are just out there, that are just, they're not doing any harm to anyone.
All that they were doing, all that those people were doing, according to the body cam and the court documents, was violating curfew. They weren't looting, they weren't rioting.
They're just standing outside. And they're literally, what's going on when you violate curfew is you are standing in the wrong place. That's all that's happening.
Yep. All right.
And they're acting like these are enemy combatants from the get-go.
Yeah. Oh, it gets worse. When they came upon another small group of people, Biddle told the officers to wait and, quote, draw them in. Quote, wait for him and draw him in, and then hit him, he told Officer Christopher Kirchenberry. The protesters didn't draw near, however, so the officers didn't shoot.
You're hoping? You're hoping. This is consistently, they are hoping that they get to shoot people.
Yes. As the van proceeded toward 15th Avenue, Stallings and 3 friends were in a parking lot on the 14th Avenue and Lake Street. He'd gone out for his 3rd night of protest after seeing the video of Floyd being pressed into the pavement, dying under the knee of Derek Chauvin. He was wearing a green sweater, basketball shorts, and a face mask and drove his big white Chevy Silverado. He had his Mini Draco, which is a modified pistol that looks like a sawed-off AK-47, for protection in the face of the disorder and stories about violent white supremacists seeking to sow chaos.
That's a completely reasonable response, to arm yourself in response to being warned that there are armed white supremacists.
By the governor. The governor put out that order.
If you've been told that there are armed, you're a black man, you've been told that there are armed white supremacists roaming around looking to shoot people, arming yourself effectively is an entirely reasonable response. And one that you should do. You should be armed, especially in a situation like that.
Okay, this is where it gets. Stallings says he and his companions were in the parking lot trying to figure out what to do when someone came running down the street yelling, "They're shooting! They're shooting!" Quote, "I assumed that meant somebody's out here trying to kill people," Stallings recalled. Stallings' friends went to the street and immediately turned away, running. So Stallings turned around and took cover near the back of his pickup as the others headed toward vehicles. Stallings turned to get into his pickup as the white van came into view around the corner of the building, bordering the parking lot to the west. He couldn't see inside the van. The van's sliding door was open, and the officers immediately began firing. Officer Cushenberry fired first, hitting Stallings' torso, saying later in a court hearing that he'd been trained to aim at the chest, legs, or buttocks. Stallings said in an interview he heard a pop, and then his chest felt like it was on fire, similar to when he was grazed by a bullet once when he was younger and living in Brooklyn. Quote, "I immediately thought I was being shot at with real bullets and was about to die. I was under the impression that I was bleeding out." Then Stinson fired. Stinson's one of the other officers, hitting Stallings' pickup door, leaving a dent. Stallings' military training kicked in, and he fired 3 rounds at the van while retreating to the rear of his pickup. When he was in the Army, he was taught to, quote, "shoot center mass," but said he aimed low and towards the front of the van to scare off whoever was doing the shooting at him.
Yeah, he thought he'd been hit and he might be dying, but he still didn't want to kill anyone himself.
Yes. Quote, "I had enough rounds that if I intended to harm or kill anyone, I could have easily done that," he said. He could have fired 31 rounds and hit every person in the van. Instead, he only fired but 3. So he had a full-size mag plus one in the chamber.
Yeah, standard. That's a standard AK mag. That's, he easily could have. Yeah, and if that had been, if those are FMJs, they're tearing through the body of that van like it ain't even there.
So one of his shots appeared to hit the van, although no bullet was recovered in it or on the street right outside the open door. Quote, "I lifted my feet up because I could see a round skipping off the pavement below the van." That is Officer Doobel recounted in the court months later. On body cam video described in court documents, Doobel appeared to fall backward and then fired a 3rd round towards Stallings' pickup, hitting the passenger side mirror, cracking the casing as the van slowed. The officers yelled, shots fired," and jumped out of the van, and Stallings said that's when he realized they were cops. Court documents describe body cam footage that show he dropped his gun on the ground and lay face down with his hands to the side above his head as though he was surrendering. He didn't move for 20 seconds as the officers approached. Quote, "You fucking piece of shit," Stinson yelled, and began kicking and punching Stallings in the head and neck, according to court documents. Stallings didn't move. He was trying to surrender and de-escalate the situation, he said in an interview. Patel began kneeing and punching Stallings in the stomach, chest, and back. The beating went on for about 30 seconds, with Biddle and Stinson punching and kicking Stallings in the head, neck, stomach, chest, and back.
Yeah, they wanted fucking blood.
Midway through the beating, Stinson told Stallings to put his arms behind his back, and after handcuffing him, Patel set him up and kicked him in the ribs as Stetson continued hitting him in the head.
They fucking handcuffed him.
Yeah.
And kept beating him.
Even after his sergeant, Patel told Stevens to stop hitting Stallings, he continued. Biddle said, "That's it, stop it," but he continued until Bill grabbed his hand and said, "It's okay." The officers also arrested another person who was with Stallings, repeatedly tasing him. Stinson beat Stallings so bad he said his hands and feet hurt afterwards and wondered aloud whether he had broke his hand, according to court documents. When paramedics arrived, Stallings had labored breathing and didn't immediately respond to questions. Stallings was arrested and taken to the hospital and then interrogated and jailed. Judge Koch reported in an order that while MPD Commander Bruce Fulkins was inspecting the crime scene, he told another officer it was, quote, nice to hear officers were, quote, hunting people instead of, quote, chasing people around that evening, and said, quote, fuck these people.
See this, and that sums up what's going on here. The protests, the riots, all of that are in direct response to police, and they are basically declaring to the police, you don't get to do this. You don't get to just run everything and run roughshod over the citizenry all you want. And in response, the police are like, how dare you question my authority? How dare you question whether or not I can do anything I want? And the actions of this SWAT team are exactly that consistently. They are, how dare you defy me? I am the law.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be fucking Judge Dredd. I mean, that's what they want to be, fucking Judge Dredd. They want to be able to just execute people at will.
After Stallings was arrested, the officers gathered for a debriefing. Quote, did anyone shoot? Sergeant Patel asked the unit. Nobody said they had. Nobody mentioned that they shot Stallings with rubber bullets before he fired back. Quote, who are the shooters? A responding officer asked Patel, according to the court documents. Quote, nobody. He shot at us, replied Patel inaccurately. He said, quote, then he gave up.
So he's
admitting, not only is he lying, but he's admitting he gave up.
Yeah.
Right, so he wasn't resisting. He gave up.
Yep.
Patel repeatedly said Stallings shot at the van, saying Stallings, quote, shot right into the van as Unit 1281 engaged with 40s. The officers agreed, saying they didn't, quote, shoot at Stallings. During a December court hearing, the officers said they meant they didn't shoot at him with live ammunition from a lethal weapon.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's what you meant.
About 9 minutes after the shooting, the unit was ordered to turn off its body cameras.
Oh. Gee. Why would that be?
Yeah. When officers suggested the unit be separated and placed in with escorts in accordance with MPD's critical incident policy, Patel said that was unnecessary because its officers didn't shoot.
Yeah, see, exactly. Right there. They're lying. They know that they're lying. They're even lying about lying.
Asked in court what was said after the body cam were turned off. Officer Double said, quote, it was us sitting back and thankful that we were all alive and that we weren't killed.
You know, and the thing is, you know, if he had actually hit anyone and killed them, they would have just killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he realized they were cops and immediately surrendered, they would have just murdered him.
Yep. And it goes on to cover the whole court case and all that good stuff, but it's a really long, like twice as long as what I've already read.
Yeah, and they basically what it says is that they debated whether or not they should separate them, treat it as a critical incident, and question them all separately, blah blah blah. And then so they just defaulted and sent them all home.
Yeah.
Instead of questioning them, and said, well, we'll talk to you tomorrow, which means they all had plenty of time to talk to each other and get their stories straight.
Yeah, to get a unifying story.
Yep.
Yeah, the next day, officers gave what Judge Koch later called, quote, somewhat conflicting but not necessarily inconsistent statements to investigators. Since the officers didn't use their firearms, it was not deemed a critical incident. The officers were then allowed to watch body cam footage before doing their written reports. None of the officers, including Patel, mentioned his command to hit Stallings' group. Stinson told investigators he shot at Stallings because he was crouching down and appeared poised to throw something at the van. So,
yeah, the Minneapolis police sergeant, yes, they did enjoy it. Like, and they fucking lied. Like, that's the gist of it. Like, they lied, they leave things out, they lie, they leave things out.
All right. In a February order, Koch, that's the judge, was critical of the MPD leadership that night, but didn't find the unit's conduct rose to the level of unnecessary and unjustified infliction of malicious injury that would spur a dismissal.
Yeah, but Code did allow Stallings to argue during trial that he acted in self-defense.
Yeah.
That's...
And he found the officers used excessive force, agreeing with Rice that they were evidence the unit was indiscriminately shooting at peaceful people that night, firing at a retreating group of people about an hour before they shot Stallings. But Koch said context is important too. The officers had just been through 4 days of rioting, looting, arson, and burning the 3rd precinct. Peaceful protests sometimes quickly escalated to violence. As if that fucking justifies breaking homeboy's face.
But again, that's like I said, that's what this is. This is a how dare you question us? How dare you not immediately bend over, spread your cheeks, and say, "Please, sir, may I have another?"
He did. He dropped the gun.
And he did.
Laid on the ground, totally compliant.
But their reaction is from the get-go of that night is how dare these people not just bend over for us. And then when he fires at them, they're like, again, you motherfucker, and then they beat the shit out of him. Even though he's compliant, he's not resisting, he has surrendered.
No, the one bludgeon thought he broke his hand on the dude's face.
It's too bad that he didn't, and then it got infected, and then he got bone infection and died from sepsis. Piece of shit.
Had to be amputated.
Yeah, the Co said citizens would hope and should expect that Unit 1281 would show more discretion as well as follow MPD policy before firing 40mm launchers. Gosh, you think?
Yeah. Officer Stinson said during questioning in a court hearing that some members of the unit enjoyed shooting civilians at certain moments, but denied shooting at people just for violating curfew, saying, quote, "It was 5 nights of a complete riot where the city was burning down." He said the unit was firing on civilians to, quote, "gain back control of the city."
You know, this unit's actions are the kind of things that you see in like dystopian future movies and novels about like the reactions of these like absolute police states to people protesting. Like, remember Running Man, right? At the beginning of Running Man with the protests over the food and stuff. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger's character refuses to fire at them, you know, or do anything because they're all being peaceful. They're just protesting. And then everyone goes in and just shoots them all.
Biddle acknowledged that his unit shot civilians multiple times while going down Lake Street, calling the rounds a, quote, pain compliance measure. A pain compliance measure. Shooting 40 Mike at people standing in parking lots.
Yeah, well, and I love that that Stallings, when he was asked why he kept hitting him after his hands were behind his back, he goes, again, emotions were high. I just got shot at. I thought I was going to die. He started to tell the truth.
Yep.
And then caught himself because he had been saying that he never shot at anyone.
Quote, "Everybody I saw that night got shot seemed to either be attempting to loot, probably planning to loot. You know, it was the directive I got was to clear the street, so that's what we did."
Probably planning to loot.
Seemed to be probably planning to loot.
Yeah, the thing, like, there is a fantastic, absolutely fantastic Star Wars fan film out there called Troops, which is a parody of Cops but with stormtroopers on Tatooine. And remember what cops always said at the beginning, right? That all suspects are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
No.
Well, Troops opens up with, because it's the Empire, going, all suspects are guilty, period. Otherwise, they wouldn't be suspects, would they? And that was funny 20 years ago. That is actually how police react now.
Yeah, everybody, you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, you are going to be guilty. You are going to be shot. I mean, these guys are acting like fucking stormtroopers. That's what they're acting like right now. The stormtroopers who, these blast points too accurate for sand people, like that group of stormtroopers, that's what they are. The ones who burned Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. That's these guys right here. That's these guys. Even, the crazy thing is, even the Gestapo, the Nazi Gestapo, were more careful about whether or not they win at people than American police.
Yep. Stallings, the SWAT commander, had a day in court July 22nd in a 5-day jury trial. Let's see. The prosecution called the officers to testify, and the defense only called Stallings. Stallings was acquitted of all charges.
Of course he was, because magical costume.
Yeah. Rice, who was Stallings, not Stallings, the guy that was shot's lawyer. He said, quote, "What rights does he have to stand in a parking lot and not get shot at?"
He's just like, what rights does he have at this point? Like,
yep.
Like, if you're gonna say that you're allowed to do that, what right does he have to not expect to get shot at randomly by police for standing in a fucking parking lot? Like, what rights does anyone have anymore? And the answer, I mean, if you've been listening to this show for a while, is none. You have no rights at all in the United States. Not really. When government decides it doesn't want you to have rights, you just don't have them unless you are willing to defend them.
Unless you're capable of defending them, because you can be willing to defend them all you want. I mean, it's not going to stop the government from dropping a bomb on your house, like they did the movement.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you only have the rights that you are willing and able to defend. That's all you actually have when government is involved. Mm-hmm. You do not have rights that you can't keep the government from infringing on. Look at Australia right now.
Fucking Australia's from a prison camp to a prison camp.
Yeah, they've come full circle. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, they're just a modern penal colony now, and like, that's directly a result of their inability to stop tyranny in an effective manner.
Whereas in the willingness.
Yeah, whereas in the United States right now, just in the past year, in the past 3 months, there have been more NICS checks for gun purchases than there were in the previous 2 years combined.
And what was it, like 28% of all firearms purchases this past year were first-time buyers?
Yep, new gun owners. There's an estimated 28 million new gun owners in the United States.
Yeah.
Who didn't previously own a firearm.
I read something like 8% of those are black females, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. That's any group that is worried about being oppressed, like, actively, regardless of anything, race, sexual orientation, anything else, should be arming themselves for sure. I mean, like I mentioned when I was on Magnus's live stream, that I've been trying to get a Pink Pistols chapter started in La Crosse, in this area. I'm not gay, but like, I have a lot of friends who are, and I worry about their ability to protect themselves if things go nasty. So like, I want them to be able to do that. I want them to be able to properly and effectively defend themselves if something happens. And that's what Pink Pistols does, like I laugh, and there was that article today that came out from the MAGA cows about complaining about the Boogaloo Boys, and I'm like,
yeah.
you mean
mom's demand action one, yeah.
Yeah, and like complaining and like, oh, you mean the people who like protect the BLM protests, the ones who protect trans individuals, the ones who are trying to start, again in my case, a Pink Pistols chapter, like, oh yeah, we're so anti, like we're so white supremacist, hyper right.
The photo that they always use is like these three boot boys standing in front of some liquor store or something like that, right? And they got the guns, the guns down. They got the hand on the pistol grip and all that good stuff. They use the same photo every single time, completely ignoring the fact that every single time they use that photo, people comment the original photo, which shows like 3 or 4 black guys on each side, like some Black Lives Matter guys, some black Boogaloo guys that they just conveniently crop out of the photo every single time.
Yep, they crop all of the people of color out of the photo because they're non-people to them. They don't care. Yep. And then they also ignore the fact that is the protest where a bunch of boog boys stopped a bunch of white supremacists from harassing a trans individual who was one of them.
Yep. That's like Larry Elders, who's running for the governor spot here in California during the Newsom recall. If News, like I like Larry Elder, he's pretty decent on a lot of things, but he's a black guy, and the LA Times called him the face of white supremacy.
Yeah, I saw that, the black face of white supremacy, and I'm like,
what? how does that work?
I've watched Eric July get called a white supremacist. I've watched Zuby on Twitter get called a white supremacist. There's, that's their go-to.
Olivia Rondu's their new target. They call her a white supremacist now too because she joined Mises.
Yeah, she's black. What? But it's all they have. Like they have it so internalized that if you are, anti-government, if you are anti-encroachment on your rights, if you are, anti-tyranny, you must be a white supremacist. They've internalized that so much that they will do the craziest contortionist level mental gymnastics to be able to try and say that somebody who is black and grew up in South Central is somehow a white supremacist.
Yep. Speaking, let's talk about this other white supremacist that's making the news. Got the cease and desist letter for donating air conditioning units in Florida in July. White supremacist goes by the name of Kodak Black. He's a rapper. Received a cease and desist letter from the housing authority after donating air conditioning units to people in the projects.
Yeah, he grew up in these projects specifically. Like this is his home neighborhood and everything else. This is where he grew up and where he came from. He has the money.
Angry white supremacists. Angry white supremacists. I'm telling you.
If you don't know who he is and you're listening to this, just Google Kodak Black and you'll see what we're
it's spelled just like it sounds. Kodak Black. So Kodak Black is facing legal trouble for his latest charitable effort. The housing authority of Pompano Beach issued a cease and desist letter to Kodak last month, claiming that he caused, quote, disturbances when delivering air conditioning units to a housing project in July.
Disturbances.
The housing authorities' claim also stem from the fact that Florida rapper may have shot a video on the property.
With the permission of the people who live there.
Yeah, he said he didn't. Whatever.
Yeah.
Quote, your actions have inversely impacted the property's residents or the property residents' rights to peacefully enjoy their property. He was giving out fucking air conditioning units to poor people in the ghetto in Florida in July.
Yeah, and keep in mind, this is projects, right? This is public housing, and they didn't put air conditioning in the public housing. The government that built it did not put air conditioning in these units in Florida.
Here in California, where it's like 96 degrees at 7 o'clock at night right now, by law, they don't have to include air conditioning, but they have to include a heater. Yeah, even though winter time here is like 55 degrees during the day and like overnight lows of 40.
I don't even need to run a fucking heater. I can use a fucking sleeping bag and be fine at night.
So, but quote, your actions have inversely impacted the property residents' right to peacefully enjoy their property. Meanwhile, Black's lawyer, Bradford Cohen, responded with a letter of his own, reprimanding the housing authority for their, quote, wish to stop the assistance to the elderly and underprivileged during a heat wave and a 2-year pandemic.
I fucking love that he's like, you're trying to stop someone just trying to help old people in the middle of this pandemic that you were supposedly so freaked out by.
In Florida in July.
Yeah, what the
4th of July weekend in July.
Yeah, and he purchased 100 AC units, $12,500, and then hand delivered them to the residents. Hand delivered them. His own money, brought them himself, made sure everyone got one that needed one.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is way more efficient than any government assistance project will ever be.
And as I said, we do it for the projects. The people rely on just enough cash to survive. We'll get you an AC, man. We out here.
Yeah, he actually helped install them. Like him and his crew, like actually made sure, because they're kind of big, kind of heavy. Elderly people can't really get them into their windows. He made sure they got them into their windows, got them plugged in, that they're working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the government bitched him on.
Yeah, and they chewed him out for it. The video is on his Instagram, and I think on Twitter as well, if you want to check it out. But all he's doing is he's just trying to help people in the neighborhood that he grew up in, right? Like a lot of these elderly people, he probably knows, right? They were probably there when he was there. He remembers them, he knows them, and he's just trying to help them out when they need help. Because heat waves kill the elderly, especially. Like that seriously is a lot of stress on your heart and things of being in that kind of heat. And he's just trying to help these people. And the government goes, how dare you?
It's funny because one of the connected articles on June 11th, the Broward County Commissioner Dale Holness issued a proclamation for June 11th celebrating Kodak's years of generosity toward his community.
Yeah. So this isn't even the first time he's done this shit. He's actually, I looked into him a little bit because I obviously don't pay any attention to these rappers. I have no idea. I listen to CCR and Led Zeppelin and AC/DC and shit, man. I have no idea who these people are. But I looked into him a little bit, and he has for years been dumping enormous amounts of money back into his community and helping people. And like he's been doing a lot, actually.
No.
A lot. More than Will.i.am, who tried to build a fucking factory to build a shitty DeLorean thing.
All right. Either way, the no good deed goes unpunished, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to is he made the housing authority look bad.
Yeah.
And they got their panties in a bunch about it.
Yep.
So, but unelected bureaucrats, man. That's what this is. This is unelected bureaucrats. We have another unelected bureaucrat that we want to talk about. And I wish Derek was here, and I wish Christopher was here to go over this. And I wish Sully was here, but he's at a wedding. So this is one of those stories. This one comes from Allegan County, which is in Michigan. State rep calls for firing of Allegan County Health Department director over warning letter. What's the warning letter you're talking about? A Michigan lawmaker has called for the Allegan County Health Director to be fired over a warning letter sent to parents that said if they do not comply with the requirements to quarantine from school, kids could be taken into protective custody.
Bet.
State Representative Steve Johnson and some parents were upset about it after the letter. State Rep Steve Johnson posted the letter on Facebook. In the Facebook post, Rep Johnson said, quote, Allegan County Commission needs to step up and fire the reckless and tyrannical health director for threatening to take away people's kids. The letter in part,
that's what they should do.
Yeah, the letter in part says, quote, if you fail to take the actions prescribed in this warning notice, the Allegan County Health Department shall petition the court to seek an order to compel your compliance, which may result in you being taken into protective custody to protect the public's health. Quote, should any non-compliant behavior create an emergency situation where she becomes a health threat to others, an immediate court order shall be sought pursuant to Michigan Law MCL 333.5207. Upon issuance of this court order, she may be taken into protective custody to protect public health. In such event, you will then be afforded the opportunity to hear in court in 72 hours. All right, so.
There are things that I want to say that should be considered a reasonable reaction to that letter. However,
Brandenburg.
Yeah, I'm not going to say them. You can probably guess my opinion of how you should react to that, how I would react to that.
Yep.
And it's not going to be a measured, reasonable response. Let's say that.
Yep. Bet, bitch.
Yeah. Oh, it's if you're familiar with the protests in France right now and some of the things that are happening there. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of historical French protests.
Yes. It's not. I'm trying not to to say the wrong thing.
Yeah, I mean that's the problem with this is like this is such blatant tyranny. Like this is such like a really motherfucker moment for me. Like I actually am not legally allowed to articulate my thoughts on this.
Yeah, and then let's just move on. Let's move on from that one because we don't want to. I think we have to move on from that one. We can go one way or another. They're both having to deal with the government and families. So, all right, let's do this one because we need to laugh. We need a good laugh after that one.
Okay.
Parents of disabled students file lawsuit against Iowa's ban on mask mandates. I know. I get it completely. Just it's worse than you actually think. Is this one of the ones that you read that you already know?
I've read some, like I saw it when it happened. I saw some things get mentioned about it, I think, and I remember looking at it and going, but what?
All right, okay. Deep breath. A group of parents of disabled students sued the state of Iowa Friday for banning mask mandates at schools, claiming that it infringes on their children's equal right to education by endangering their health.
No. No. It does not. It Do you think that these parents also freaked out every single time it was flu season? Like,
no. The U.S. Department of Education is also looking into the Iowa law and similar ones in Republican-led states. The department is attempting to determine whether the bans violate the Americans with Disabilities Act, insisting that they discriminate against children with disabilities or health issues. The argument is that these children are excluded from in-person teaching, which would violate the law.
You don't have a right to safety.
Prohibiting schools from taking reasonable steps to protect the health of their students forces parents to make an impossible choice: their children's education or their children's health. That is a quote from Susan Misner, director of the ACLU's program, in the suit's press release.
The ACLU, which put forth an article that said that masks mandates and vaccine mandates were pro-freedom.
Yeah. The parents in the current Iowa case have children with current disabilities or health issues ranging from bad asthma to cerebral palsy to a rare organ disorder.
If your kid's immune system is so fragile that they can't handle being exposed to COVID, they probably can't handle being exposed to the flu. They probably can't handle being exposed to colds. They can't handle being in fucking school, which means you are not making an impossible choice. You know that you can homeschool these children, and you are making the choice to send them there to a school which is known to be a fucking petri dish.
At what point does it enter people's mind that banning mask mandates does not ban people from wearing masks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember
Texas
point on that. With the come and take it with the idiot the shit lips with their come and take it with the masks when they stop the mask mandates, and everyone's like, they're not taking your masks away. You do understand that, right? Like, that's
all right. This is a second point. This is a second point that it just goose farba. Okay, second point. At what point do people realize that your kid wearing a mask and going to school is perfectly acceptable, but forcing other people's kids to wear masks so that your kid can go to school wearing a mask is a civil rights violation of the other fucking kids?
Yeah, that's where this Orwellian level doublespeak, like that was the thing that I'd said about like the ACLU on Twitter, is I was like, when you start out as the American Civil Liberties Union and you turn into Orwell's Ministry of Truth, right? Freedom is slavery. You are doublespeaking. You are taking the words that mean things and you are making them mean exactly the opposite. You're taking words like civil liberties and rights, and you're making them mean oppression and denial of rights and decision-making capability. You are denying the agency of other people to make their own decisions. That is not rights. That is exactly the opposite of rights. You don't have a right to safety. You don't have a right to expect other people to care.
You don't have a right to force things on other people.
Yeah, you don't have that fucking right. You don't. This whole pandemic has created, like, it was already fucking clown world. It has just gotten so much worse. Like, I'm going to start just wearing a red clown nose, a little honky nose everywhere I go, because this is fucking clown world as shit, where people are like, you're violating my rights by not allowing me to force you to do something.
You want to wear the mask? Wear the mask. Wear a fucking hazmat suit. Wear a fucking self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Wear a fucking oxygen recycler.
Yeah.
Get a bubble. Get a bubble. Roll
Get
down
bubble
the
boy.
hall roll down the hall in the school. Be a bubble boy. Yeah. I am fine with that. That is your right to do so. But to force muzzles on other kids because your kid has a immune or a compromised immune system or some sort of disability is not a fucking right.
If your kid's immune system is compromised enough that you are that concerned, why are they in that tight quarters social situation?
Again, exactly. If you're so scared of your kid getting sick from other kids at school being normal kids, why are you subjecting your kids to the school?
Yeah, you're making the decision to send them there. You're the one choosing that, knowing full well that your kid.
And I know some fucking Karen does. Well, then my kid shouldn't. I shouldn't have to pay school for or I have to pay taxes for the education. I agree completely.
Yeah,
if your kids can't go to that school or don't want to go to that school, no, you should not pay taxes for the education.
I love how often that happens too, where these people, so many of these people go, well, then I shouldn't have to do whatever. I love accidentally libertarian on Twitter, where they post those constantly, where people are like, well, then I shouldn't have to pay property taxes. Yeah, I agree.
I agree completely.
And they have no idea what to say, where you're like, no, I've been saying that for years, actually. Yeah, you shouldn't.
I agree completely. My kids are adults. My kids are 21 years old. They're out of school. Why the fuck am I still paying education taxes?
Yeah. Why do I have to do that? If my kids are homeschooled, why should I have to pay property taxes to pay for the schooling of other people's kids? Why is that my responsibility? That's not my responsibility.
No, it's collectivist bullshit.
Yeah, it's not the education of society is not my fucking responsibility. And you'll have people
if I have to pay for education, I want to stay in the education.
Yeah.
Because they're not educating kids, they're indoctrinating kids.
Exactly.
There's very little actual education that happens at school.
Oh yeah, school. There's so many memes. There's memes that even like shitlibs will share on Twitter and Facebook and everything, where they'll be, about the but how do I do taxes? And the response is, well, Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492. No, like, how do I make my own doctor's appointment? And then the A squared plus B squared equals C squared. No, but like, how do I? And everyone understands.
How do I change a tire? PEMDAS.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do I do this shit? People don't learn, and that's, in home economics is its elimination from nearly all school curriculums in the United States really points to that.
That was a required class when I was in 6th grade at Riverview Middle School in West Pittsburgh, California. Yeah,
like that being eliminated says everything you need to know. That home economics that taught you things like balancing checkbooks and home budgeting and how to pay bills and how to do these. All of that being eliminated tells you all you need to know, that it's not about educating you. It's not about teaching you how to go through life intelligently. It's about indoctrinating you to be a good little slave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
What's the Carlin quote? I'm going to fucking butcher the shit out of the quote, but it's public schooling is about making you just smart enough to push the button and do the things that they need you to do to be productive, but not smart enough to realize that they're educating you only enough to push buttons and be productive.
Yeah, it's let me look it up.
Something like that. Or there's another one. Nobody's going to give you the education you need to overthrow them.
Yeah, he said the reason education sucks and will never be fixed is because the owners, big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions of this country, don't want you to have a fixed education system. He also said
they want you to be just smart enough to push buttons.
Yeah, he said there's a reason education sucks. It's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got, because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. They're an irrelevancy. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They've got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies so that they control just about all of the news and information you hear. They've got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interests. They don't want people who are smart enough to sit around the kitchen table and figure out how badly they're getting fucked by a system that threw them overboard 30 fucking years ago. You know what they want? Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork, but just dumb enough to passively accept all of these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
If I did editing or knew how to do editing, that's where I would put the like standing ovation sound effect.
Yeah. It's I mean that I bring that the end of that quote up so often. It's a big fucking club and you ain't in it.
It's like the libertarians arguing over fucking border policy or abortion as if they can change it.
Yeah, you don't get a say in this. If you think you get a say in this, if you honestly believe that, I have really bad news for you.
Just what's the bless your heart? You just want to say bless your heart and pat him on the head.
Yeah, like it's I use that gif all the time, the one with the guys going, mm-hmm, and patting the other guy on top of the head. Like, alrighty. Like it's one of those things where yeah, okay, sure. You get say. You really think that. Okay, yeah. No, let me know how that's working out for you. You're getting all kinds of decision making, aren't you? Yeah, okay. No, you don't get any fucking say in any of this. You don't get to control any of this. None of this is up to you. Not really. They let you think it's up to you, but it is not. Was it the Lysander Spooner quote? A man is no less a slave because he may choose his masters every 4 to 8 years or whatever.
Yeah, every once in a term of years.
Yeah, like that right there. That sums it up. You're not magically not a slave just because you got to choose who's going to dictate things to you.
You know, 2015, I had a second page on Facebook called "Anarchy is not a bad word." And I was making a bunch of memes for it, and it got really hot. Like it was like 20,000 the first year. And I posted that I posted the Lysander Spooner quote, and somebody commented about anarchy not working and how that the Democrats are taking over and this and that. And it was like this whole little fucking tirade. And I responded with, I hope you get raped into FEMA camp. And Facebook deleted my page. Didn't delete my personal account. My personal account was fine, but they deleted anarchy is not a bad word.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like the people in charge will never let you actually have any decision making. I mean, I've personally experienced, I've been to meetings of the Republican Party, the local Republican Party in a house that was, it's this private party, invitation only, closed doors. It's all of these people who are currently technically Republicans, but remember, local elections, you're not supposed to have an R next to your name or anything, but they're like local leaders. They're, all of these people. And it was planning out a strategy for the next several years of how they're going to take power back and things. I mean, that's where that meeting is where I started to become a full-on anarchist. Like I was largely a libertarian at that point, but it was because I said I was a libertarian that they didn't want me.
That's what I was just gonna get to. You said you're a libertarian. They're like, yeah, don't say that. Don't say that out loud.
Yeah, I actually had a guy come up to me and say, well, sometimes you just need to, check your ideology at the door if you want to get things done. What?
They're not principles. They're paper tigers.
Yeah, like I'm like, are you kidding? And like that was, and like I'm still friends with some of the guys who are in the Republican Party here, and and still work with them occasionally on things, but like that opened my eyes so much to the futility of politics, because those are the places where real decisions get made.
Yep.
Those are the places where the future of the country gets determined, is private parties, closed doors. No one has any access. They do not care what anyone else thinks.
The big parties that you're not a part of?
Yeah, the ones that I will never get invited to.
No.
Those parties, that is where that actually gets determined. Your votes, you going to a ballot box, is irrelevant and meaningless.
My dad actually told me that the other day.
Seriously?
Seriously. My Trump-supporting, Republican-loving dad. He asked me about the Gavin Newsom recall. And I said, for the first time since 2012, since I voted for Ron Paul, that I actually voted for somebody. I voted to recall Newsom, and I marked myself down for Larry Elder, who's the black face of white supremacy. So I'm obviously a white supremacist now.
You voted for a black man. You're clearly a white supremacist.
So I told my dad, for the first time since 2012, I actually voted. I get the ballot every election because I voted in 2012, and it's California and they want that. But so I actually voted. I actually voted to recall Newsom and voted for Larry Elder. Yes, I continued the system or whatever the fuck their catchphrase is these days. And my dad's like, that doesn't matter anymore, Jason. And I was like, I know. I've been telling you that since 2012, Dad.
Holy shit! How the hell?
And we had a conversation about how politics at the upper echelon level, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because whoever they get into office isn't going to be able to change shit, because they have to go through Congress, they have to go through the state Senate, through the state House, and the state House is like 70% Democrat or whatever. So they have like full veto power. And yeah, like my dad actually said, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, at that meeting, like I was going to run for state Senate. Like that was the plan. That was why I was at that meeting, was because I was going to be put up against one of our state senators and run for state Senate. And when I said, well, I'm a libertarian, like my principles are freedom for everyone, that precluded me from and it's not yeah, and like I mean, and keep in mind at this point, in time, I'm not even a member of the Republican Party. Like I was asked to do this. I was tapped to do this by people that I knew. A couple of them who wound up running what's her face? Carly Fiorini's campaign, actually, that following year or that year. Like I was tapped for that by them. They wanted me to be involved. And as soon as everyone else realizes that they're not going to control me, that I'm not going to follow the party line, that I'm not going to just do what they want me to do, I'm out and I get replaced immediately.
Yep.
Like
it's like once the Democrats got into office, where'd the Black Lives Matter movement go?
Yeah, it evaporated. I mean, again, like Biden ran on a defund police thing, and then now is like, oh, that's just some crazy fringe thing. No one really.
I love how he ran on that, and then like 2 weeks into office, Nancy Pelosi's like, yeah, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, it's
just come on.
The number of tweets I see from leftists that are going, I regret having voted for Biden.
Yeah.
Is mind-blowing. Like it's every day there's another 10 or 15 people going, wow, that was stupid. I can't believe I did that. And I have news for you. If it had been Trump who won, you also would have wound up regretting voting for Trump if you had done that. So guess what? No matter what you do, you're gonna regret it, because you were tacitly acknowledging that you were okay with one tyrant or another. And ultimately, you don't get a say. They don't care. If voting changed anything, they wouldn't let us fucking do it.
Yep. And yeah, it's not. I mean, with electronic voting now, it's not even paper ballots. They don't have. It doesn't matter. Like you know how easy it is to hack into something like that these days. You don't even have to hack into it. You just have to control the people that control the system.
Oh, what did Joseph Stalin say? That it wasn't important who voted; it was important who counted the votes.
Yes. All right, let's get on this last article because we're not going to have time for both of them. Let's talk about disappearing roads. Right? You want to talk about disappearing roads, or you want to talk about the other one?
Let's see. We got disappearing roads, or the word salad thing. I feel like if we do the other one, I'm gonna wind up so fucking pissed.
It's such a bad op-ed. It's not an op-ed. It's such a bad article about how to persuade gun owners to give up their guns.
Yeah, that's gonna work. Yeah, let's do the road one because
we'll save that other one for next time.
Yeah.
So, all right. This is out of Minnesota. Another one.
Yeah, it's from the Star Tribune.
Yes, this is Mora, Minnesota. Family may be trapped as Minnesota town declares their access road doesn't exist.
Yeah, see, this one also pisses me off a great deal, but
this is one of those ones that just it's like you're playing with a little knob and you're like, turn it up to 1 and then 3 and then 5 and then like the end of the article, like I got the knob in my hand because I can't turn it up anymore and it broke.
Yeah, it's been turned to 11 and you've snapped it off. It's
all right. The gravel road that Renee and Andy Chrisman live on, the road they drive every day, has disappeared. The gravel is still there, but in the midst of a bitter struggle with local officials just outside the central Minnesota Minnesota City, Hillman Township, supervisors informed the Chrismans earlier this month that, in their view, their road has ceased to exist. Now it has been officially wiped off the map. The Chrismans wonder whether the road will be recognized route for mail, for package deliveries. They wonder, too, whether the school bus will still come and pick up their $3, age 4, 6, and 8.
Yeah, because remember that the school bus isn't obligated to stop at a road that doesn't exist.
Most of all, they wonder whether they'll be blocked from their home by the neighbor who now controls the only access to the property, someone who has made it clear he doesn't like the Chrismans. It's a classic city versus country, outsiders versus native dispute. On either side wound up after 4 years of fighting, and none is holding back. Quote, people very much have the attitude that you're from the cities. You didn't grow up here. You don't belong, said Renee Chrisman. How dare you come up here and think you have your road maintained that you pay taxes for? Quote, they have this thing that they're way better and smarter than everyone else, says Danny Schmoll, a former township supervisor who, along with his mother, owns the land that the road runs across, adjoining the Chrisman's 120-acre property.
This is why it is very important to maintain very good relationships with your neighbors.
Oh no, we'll get into this. It's not that. It's the we'll get into it. Schmoll admits that he's given some thought to barricading the Chrisman's property. Quote, supposedly I could shut the road down now, said Schmoll, who raised beef cattle. Quote, I have no intention of doing that. The little girls have to get to the school bus, but I could close that down for Andy and Renee. I would. For Renee Chrisman, the battle has become a matter of principle. Quote, they don't want us to have access to our own home, she said. Quote, we thought, are we going to have to fight this out, or are we going to have to sit back and let them do this? This is where it gets really, I mean, it's already bad, and you kind of want to pick sides already. This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Hornet Street was laid out as a township road in 1904, a half-mile dead-end leg that runs off County Road 3, not far from Knife's Lake. In recent decades, a few people have lived on it. Mostly it's been uninhabited, or mostly it's been inhabited by the Scholl family, but the Chrisman's property at the end of the road has had several different occupants over the years. Andy and Renee Chrisman bought the property in 2013 and moved there from Shoreview in 2017, living at first in a small log cabin before building a new home. As their property has been unoccupied for some time, the township had been maintaining and plowing the road only to the Schmoll place, about halfway along its length, leaving the remainder alone. In 2017, that's when they moved there, the Chrismans went to the township meeting and asked the board to begin maintaining the road all the way to their home. That required a vote of all the township electors in attendance. And they were resoundingly refused, according to both the Chrismans and to Ryan Mathens, the township's board chair. The road was in disrepair, and residents thought the cost to fix it would be too high. So this is, according to the county, or according to the city and the county, this is a government-owned road that they allowed to go into disrepair because nobody lived at the end of the road. So they were only maintaining half the road to the entrance to the Schmoll farm.
Yeah, they were actively making the decision to leave the rest of the road unmaintained.
Yes.
And then when they move in and are like, hey, could you maybe do something here? They're like, oh, well, that's just going to be too expensive.
Yes. So so the Chrismans fixed it themselves. Over the next 2 years, they spent tens of thousands of dollars having the road graded and graveled. They built a turnaround for the school bus, but never went back a second time to formally ask the township for maintenance, because by that time, the dispute had started to heat up. Since the township refused to plow the road to their place, the Chrismans did their own plowing, but that didn't please the township either. According to the court documents, the sheriff was called 3 times to warn the Chrismans that plowing a public road is against the law.
Wait, so
they could face misdemeanor criminal charges.
So first of all, that is fucking retarded. That exists here. It's if you have a plow truck here in Wisconsin, right, where the town that we're talking about is almost straight west of Danbury, which is one of the towns that Lindsay lived in. She's from up there, up that direction.
She says, oh, don't you know?
Yeah, Siren, Danbury, that area. It's
she says oof.
Yeah, it's north of the Twin Cities a ways. It's quite north, so there's a lot of snow that happens. But even if the city doesn't plow, like even down here, right where I'm at, La Crosse is notorious for not plowing its roads, right? It's a city and it doesn't like to plow its roads. Absurd. If I took a plow truck, right, I had my pickup truck and I got the plow hookups attached to the front of my pickup truck, and I just go, screw it, I'm plowing the road myself, and I do that, I can be fined for doing that, for making the road safer for everybody else. That is absurdity number 1. Absurdity number 2 is that simultaneously they are saying that they are not obligated to maintain it because it's not a public road, and saying, but if you maintain
no, it's a public road. It's a public road. By their acknowledgement, it's a public road. However, what they're saying is that they don't have the money, or they think that it would be too expensive for them to maintain the road.
For them to maintain a road that has been maintained.
So the couple spent tens of thousands of dollars to maintain their own road and to plow their own road for the sheriff to come out and...
Yeah. I mean, it's
just... I'll just start reading again. It says, according to the court documents, the sheriff was called 3 times to warn the Chrismans that plowing a public road is against the law. They could face misdemeanor criminal charges. It's strange to say the least. The township refused to plow the road, but wouldn't let them plow it either.
And here's where this is strategy. We're getting to where this was strategy on the town's part, because the township council just didn't like them. I mean, that's pretty clear. That's what's going on here, is the township council just didn't like them. So they're not only not plowing it, which means that they're going to plow it themselves, because otherwise how the hell are they going to get out of their own fucking house and onto the road?
They got kids to get to school.
Yeah. So they have to plow it. And on top of that, if they have a mailbox, right, if that isn't plowed, the mail won't get delivered. But they're threatening them if they do maintain it.
It's just...
I'm gonna hazard a guess now. That the Schmoll family, right? That guy that owns that property that the road runs through. My guess is that he wants the property they live on.
There were other consistencies, Renee Chrisman said, such as, why did the township grant them a permit to build their house on a road it didn't intend to maintain? Bum, bum, bum.
Mm-hmm.
There are several ways the township can relinquish a road, and it can be complicated. But one way under Minnesota law holds that if a township fails to, quote, perfect its interest in a right-of-way within 40 years, the road reverts to the landowner whose property is on. I'm going to read that again. So one way under Minnesota law holds that if a township fails to, quote, perfect its interest in a right-of-way within 40 years, the road reverts to the landowner whose property is on. It's that 40-year rule that the township relied on in declaring that it had lost its right to the road, which led to the land reverting to the Schmolls. Township record, the board said, showed that the portion of Hornet Street leading to the Chrisman's property hadn't been maintained in 40 years. Therefore, the township has lost its right to the road. So now they're not plowing public property if they don't own the road.
Right. That's what I'm saying is, so they're plowing it and they're getting threatened for plowing a public road. But the township is saying it's not a public road.
Yes. Yeah. Andy Chrisman said that the 40-year rule has been misapplied in this case, that the rule is never intended to cover a road such as his, he maintained. Rather, it is intended to allow landowners to recover their rights to roads that were literally forgotten by the time. Ancient paths so far gone that they've been overgrown, hidden, or taken over by nature.
Right, because if there was a road across a section of property and no one's cared about it and almost half a century and it's completely disappeared, there's no way to even know that road is there anymore. You can't just suddenly show up on my property and say, well, there's a road through here, we have right of way.
Last year, the Chrismans sued the township in Kennebec County District Court, asking that the road be declared a township road and that the township be required to maintain it. In a ruling handed down in June, District Judge Stoney Hilgis ruled in favor of the township. Now the Chrismans have lost legal access to their home. The township is offering another option.
And this was where, like, when I was reading through this article, this was where I started, like, just fucking raging.
Oh, like, I laugh to keep from raging. Like, property rights are like one of my huge things. Like gun rights, property rights, individual liberty. Like EPA and property rights are like the things that I rage against so hard.
And this one hits especially close to home for me because I have friends, who live in very rural Wisconsin. It's the middle of nowhere that they live and stuff. And they've had fights like this where they've had fights over I have one friend who his property, he built a road, right? He's got highways on either side of his road. He has like 800 acres, something like that. Mm-hmm. And he built a road that connected one highway with another on his property so that if he took if he wanted to go this way, he could just drive right up. If he wanted to go this way, he could drive right up. Not a problem, right? He's got big semis that come in to pick up all the grain and everything. They have a multi-million-dollar operation, raising grain for feed for cattle and stuff. So but it's a private road, right? He built it. It's connects as a driveway essentially to each highway, but it is not a road. It is not a through road. He had to fight to maintain that it was his private road and not a public road 4 separate times with the county.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that one. Now the Chrismans have lost legal access to the road or to their home. The township is offering another option. As if the township gives a fuck at this point.
Yeah, their like, other option
Like you can't use the road that we recognize as a road that's not a road that if you plow, you're plowing public property, which is a misdemeanor, but you can't use it as a road.
And that's the thing that infuriates me about the perfected their interest in, like,
Yeah.
but I maintained it. I did this, and then I plowed it because you wouldn't. And when you complained at me for maintaining and plowing a public road myself, therefore you are establishing legally your interest in that
And
road. You are declaring it's yours.
They spent tens of thousands of dollars building.
Yeah.
Of building a bus turnaround, of leveling, of gravel. Tens of thousands of dollars building this half-mile long road that they don't recognize as a road anymore. But
yeah, they just decided
but they'll fine them for plowing. Yeah. Okay.
See that if you, I think that really, like, and I'm surprised. Well, I guess I'm not surprised, but any lawyer would argue you perfected your interest in that road by threatening them with being charged for plowing a public road.
That would be my argument too. But now the Christmans have lost the legal access to their home. The township is offering another option. Earlier this summer, it extended a different gravel road on the far side of the Christman land. It told the family they can access their home on that road if they build a 600-foot long driveway at their own expense through pasture land with a swampy spot in the middle.
Which is going to probably cost them $40,000, $50,000.
That would cost them thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands, Renee Christman said. Quote, we selected this option to help the Christmans if the township lost interest in Hornet Street from the 40-year law. The Christmans would have legal access to their property. That is from Martins, the board chairman, he said in an email.
This is the equivalent. This is the fucking equivalent of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with you had a choice. You could have gone and seen the plans, and if you wanted to protest them, you had a choice. Well, I had to go down 3 flights of stairs, down a hallway, and it was hidden behind cabinets in a poorly lit room in the basement. That's what this is. This is them going out of their way to make it as hard as possible, but still for themselves going, well, we gave you a choice. We're trying to help you.
The Christmans have asked the judge to re-examine and amend his order based on additional information they're offering. The request is pending. Meanwhile, they'll continue living among neighbors who they've readily acknowledged don't like them and probably never will. Quote, we're not being treated fairly, Andy Christman said. Quote, the spite train has left the station, and here we are. Quote, pretty much everybody has had enough of them now, said Schmoll. I don't expect they'll ever find a friendly face in Hillman Township ever again.
Yeah, because, see, and I've lived in these places. I have lived in these places, these rural places where it's this good old boys club, which Schmoll is part of, and that's what's going on here. This is a good old boys club thing. And, well, how dare you not be part of the good old boys club? And because you're not part of it, we don't want you, and we are therefore going to do everything we can to get rid of you. And because the town council is also part of the good old boys club and has that protection of law, they can force you out.
This is the same sort of situation with the good old boys club, access to a road, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Marvin Heemeyer?
That spawned Marvin Heemeyer into history.
Yeah, sometimes reasonable men. Yeah, and it's exactly that. And that occurred to me when I read we have this other road that we'll give them access to. if they did the same shit to Heemeyer.
We have this other road you can have access to if you build it at your own expense.
Yeah, and like Heemeyer, the response is, but I already spent all this money with access to get access to this that you told me I had to get access to.
That they can't have access to legally now. That it's so fucking stupid. It's so fucking stupid. It's either a public road or it's the Schmoll's property. Right? If it's the Schmoll's property, all right, just say it's the Schmoll's property, and let's work on this other thing. The township should help because they lost the road in the first place.
And you know what I would bet is I bet that the township is still sending plows to plow up to the Schmoll's property.
Up to the Schmoll's property. Yep.
On that road. I would almost guarantee that's what's going on. And they're still claiming that that part of the road is still their road and not a driveway.
But even though that's on Schmoll's property also.
Yeah, but that legally, if that road has reverted, then they shouldn't be plowing it because that means that they're plowing someone's driveway.
Private property on the taxpayer name.
Yeah, which means that they should then be plowing the rest of that driveway all the way to the other family's home. And that's a really simple legal argument that should work. And the reason it doesn't work is because this is a rural township. This is a rural court. That's what's going on. You need to appeal it high enough that you get it out of the local. And if that doesn't work, there are alternatives. Buy a welder.
Ask Marvin.
Yeah, buy a welder.
They have a plow, so I mean they got a vehicle capable of doing things.
You know, the crazy thing that's such a weird quirk for Minnesota law because in Wisconsin, like there are tons of roads up north, right up in the North Woods around this area, like directly east of this area on the other side of the Mississippi, in Wisconsin, where you see signs at the end of roads that will say road not maintained.
Yeah, or end of publicly maintained road.
So it's still a public road, but they're letting you know, hey, we don't bother with this.
Yeah.
That is a thing that happens in Wisconsin. We have it here too. The National Forest Roads, State Forest Roads. They'll have a leaving pavement sign, then they'll have another one that says end of publicly maintained road. Yeah. Like that's a thing that makes sense where you're just like, hey, we built this road originally, but we're not going to maintain this. Like the people who live here are the ones who maintain this. And so, and you see that a lot, where I go camping and stuff up by Mercer and Minneapolis, Wisconsin and Boulder Junction and stuff. You see a lot of, those roads where, because in the summer they're open and everything, but no one even lives out there in the winter anyway. So who cares? So they don't bother. And it's just warning you like, hey, this is never going to be plowed. That's never going to happen. That's how it is at the, where my friends live in Wyoming. I'm not going to spit out their name or whatnot, but, they live, it's the road. It's a gravel road that comes off a main road. And there's like 12 houses on this like 2-mile stretch of gravel road. And the county doesn't maintain it. So the residents, they get together every fall and they all throw some money into the pot. And the pot goes to the guy that lives at the end of the road who owns the plow. And when winter comes, he plows the road. Yep. It's private. It's private. It's what they do. Yeah. And because when people value something, I realize this may shock some people, but when people value something, they will pay for it. What? Fucking shocking, I know. All right, let's throw some plugs and get out of here. All right, buy Derica's book, buy her crochet pattern. She's like never on here anymore because she's too good for us. But she was visiting family and then all this and that. I'm just making excuses for her. Yeah. Also, if you want to maintain your beard like a Viking, keep it soft, keep it wonderful, everything else, you're going to hit up thebeardstruggle.com, use code InkAnarchist15, you get 15% off of that order from them, and you get some really, really cool stuff, and you get to support me. There are a couple of sites that are listed in the description for streetwear things, and you use code InkAnarchist25 at those. What else we got? I think we got a couple more. Road to Autonomy magazine. Check them out. Read that. It's cool. It's awesome. Patches. Yep, Poppins Patches makes some really awesome patches. Yes, and Bad Moon Hemp, the beard oil from Bad Moon Hemp is the best beard oil I've ever used. I cannot rant and rave enough about it. She came up with one the other day by accident that she said smells like a campfire. Ooh, I might have to order
And
that.
it's like cedar and wood smoke and a few other ones. I'll send you the. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. It is truly amazing. The hemp beard oil that you can get from Bad Moon Hemp is absolutely amazing. It permanently transforms your beard. It is absolutely incredible. And you should definitely be checking that out as well.
And she takes crypto. Just throwing that out there too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. She's a big proponent of our
pirate chain, which is
yes.
really private coin that I'm into now.
Yeah, I got to invest in that some. I'm going to do that.
I won 25 pirate chain the other day on a meme contest.
Nice. Yeah. See, I gotta just buy a bunch.
And since then, pirate coin has dumped about 20%.
Oh well, that's helpful.
Which makes it a typical crypto.
Yeah.
Like all the others.
You know, it's if we can build our own economy around it and just disregard everybody else, that's what the point is. That is the point of pirate coin. So
can't tax it if you can't find it.
Yeah, that's the objective. But anyway, check that stuff out. Use the discount codes. Make me very happy. I have another collab and another discount code and another website coming soon that I think some of our listeners are going to like a great deal as well.
On that note, the links to the stories we covered will always be in the description. And we'll catch you on the next one. Catch you later.
Dude.
Peace.